Hello, my name is John Livera, and today I've prepared for you a pan-roasted Norwegian farm salmon with grilled zucchini, basil-infused white beans, and tomato bruschetta. Now, I definitely believe that seafood is the future of our food security. With 70% of this planet covered by water, we can sustainably harvest and responsibly harvest more than 6 times what we currently are today. And that's all due to the care and respect that our salmon farmers take in the nature and ecosystems that surround these farms. And when you see or visit one of these farms, you're just looking at the tip of the iceberg, as 2% of the volume of those pens are the fish, whereas 98% is free-flowing water. So I hope you enjoy this recipe of Norwegian farm-raised salmon. And here we have our tomatoes for tomato concasse. Now these globe tomatoes, in order to prepare, we just want to slice the skin, just score it right there. And as we do both, into a nice X, we'll remove the core. Pop it out, and do the same. The reason we want to do this is so when we drop this into boiling water to blanch it for about 3 to 5 seconds, what it'll do, and then after that, we'll drop it into ice water. This part will split and we'll be able to easily peel the skin open. Now, what we're going to add to our tomato concasse is a very easy garlic puree. Now this garlic, what we want to do is we want to remove some of the roughness in the garlic flavor. And what I mean by that is you don't want to always bite down into just big chunks of garlic. So you want to make sure that you take this just in this fashion, mince it up as fine as you can, and then what we'll do is we'll use the side of the knife with some kosher salt to make a nice puree. What I'm going to do is add about a 1/4 teaspoon or about 2 grams of kosher salt. And what we're going to do is just mash this into the garlic. So we're going to save this for our tomato concasse. Here we have our boiling water. What we're going to do is we're just going to take these 2 tomatoes and put them into the boiling water just for about 5 to 6 seconds. We'll shut off the water. We'll take our ice bath and we'll take the tomatoes and put them right into our ice bath. Here we have the tomatoes from the ice bath. You just see how the skin peels right off. So with our tomatoes, in order to make the concasse, you're basically going to follow the lines that you scored the tomato with. And from there, you slide up, remove the seeds and the heart. And for concasse, you have that beautiful flesh in which you are just going to make nice little small dice. We're going to add this to our garlic puree. We can cut these on the bias. Now a big piece like this I'll save and use for zucchini bread or another recipe. Now by cutting it this way, we'll have a few different options when it comes to plating. And again, we'll put these on our pan. We're just going to take fresh tarragon, nice bunch of leaves, mince this up. All we're going to want is just the tarragon and oil itself, just so we can brush these on right as we're grilling, right before we grill. Easy enough. Take this, do a little ramekin. I like to add a little salt to it and a nice touch of oil. For the example of the salmon, I like to show a piece with and without skin. And when you're pan searing it or grilling, it does make a difference on which side you're going to start with. We're going to pan sear today. So for the pan searing, I'm going to start flesh side down for both, which even means on this side. So I'm going to finish it on the skin. So for these, I'm going to give them both a nice little coating of salt. This is just plain kosher salt. And that's a nice seasoning. For me, when it comes to fish, I only use white pepper. I love using white pepper with fish. I think it just gives it a nice contrast. So I'm going to salt this, and I'm going to leave this for about 5 minutes before I start cooking it. So now we're going to start grilling our zucchini and cooking our beans. Now before we start up with our zucchini or cooking our salmon or our white beans, we just want to mix up our tomato concasse with that beautiful tomato paste. What we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit, and this is about 20 grams of balsamic vinegar. We're going to add that, a pinch of kosher salt, and about 30 grams of olive oil. We are now going to start our beans. And with the beans, what we want to do is we want to add a splash of olive oil. We want to start cooking our onions. We're just going to sweat these down a little bit. We still want a little bit of texture, but at the same time, we want to make sure that they're nicely cooked. And as these are cooking down, we're going to start our salmon in the pan so we can finish those in the oven. Start with our pan with some olive oil. We're going to wait till that gets up to the smoke point. And now while we're doing this is how easy this dish is. We're going to take our zucchini that we had salted before. We're going to brush it with our flavored oil with the tarragon in it. And we're going to get those on the grill. And our pan is almost ready for salmon. Now when we sear the salmon, we want to make sure that we just have a nice thin golden brown crust. And when you cook salmon, or any fish for that matter, you always want to start with the flesh side down, not the skin side. And notice how I didn't shake the pan vigorously right at the end. You just want to make sure that you're going to get a beautiful sear. We're going to turn these over right before we put them into the oven. So now I've flipped them over, and these are going to go right into the oven. So now with the salmon in the oven, now we're going to add our beans to our sauteed onions. And these are just going to go gently and start melting out, and we'll turn our zucchini. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the beans, and this is just going to help cream them out a little bit. What I mean by that is break down a little bit of the bean so you get that beautiful bean flavor and texture right in the pan. And as this water evaporates and cooks off, we're going to add some fresh basil puree. And while that's reducing, I'll give these another turn. Add a little bit of the basil puree. As you can see, this is a bright, bright green basil. Just beautiful. Add a little bit of that in, stir it in, and that'll incorporate with all the juices, with the water, with the beans, and just give this such a nice flavor and texture. Okay, the salmon's been in the oven for about 4 minutes. So you have a beautiful, beautiful golden brown sear on it. The beans are almost done. The zucchini's almost done. And now we're going to plate. I've chosen a bowl for this just because of the textures and the shapes. And we have the beans, nice and reduced. Oh, it smells exactly like pesto without the garlic. And you'll see here, if I flip it upside down, the salmon, you have that beautiful golden brown color on the skin. So we can serve it like this. Take our squash. And the plating on this can be simple and easy, just like the flavors involved. Now when putting the tomato concasse on, I just want to put a little bit around, not too much of the balsamic, but just enough to kind of marinate that grilled zucchini a little bit. And there it is, just a very simple seared salmon with white beans, grilled zucchini, and you can call it tomato bruschetta.